everybody. Welcome to 100% Triumph Keeping It 100. Today, we're going to be talking about financial literacy. So we're just going to go ahead and introduce ourselves.
Hi guys, my name is Amadiola Ladimeji. I am 23 years old and I am a full-time hairstylist and I work in corporate America at Fannie Mae as a business architect.
What's going on, y'all? My name is Dwayne Jones II. I'm 26 years old and I work at Lockheed Martin as a systems engineer.
What's going on, everyone? My name is Yambasu Brewa. I'm 25 years old and I work as an accountant.
Hey guys, my name is Angelina. I am 28 years old and I am a law student at Georgetown Law School.
All right, awesome. So we're just going to go ahead and start with the first question. So when did you guys' financial interest begin?
I think that when I realized that I needed to save more money to go to law school because you can't work in law school. Or even before that, just the idea of man, you don't have a savings. You need a savings. Or, I think just understanding that we have to be more wise with our money is just a way that I just started to need to know about how to make myself more financially educated.
True.
I can go. I actually started when I was 14.
Okay.
I started my hair business when I was 14. I've
Wow.
just kind of always been yeah, like a hustler almost, to the point where I was even writing papers for people in high school. So I started with that mindset in high school, but I got serious because I had to work throughout college and stuff. But I just believe in financial wealth, especially for our community, because it's been deprived for a long time. We don't think about generational wealth at all. And I'm African as well, so I just want it to be an outpour. I want my grandchildren's grandchildren to remember it started with me. So
Nice. Generational wealth. For me personally, it started off late. So for me, it started off my junior year in college. And that was because I actually had a internship at the bank in DC. And that's where I learned, from top to bottom what actual financial literacy was. So that was something that I never heard of from my family or from my friends. I grew up in a single parent household. So the concept of money was just something that you worked for, and then that was it. You know what I mean? So I didn't know what debt was. I didn't know what a credit score was. My bank account was something that my mom created, and that, if I have a job, the paycheck goes there. Direct deposit goes there. So I did not know anything about it, and I was like, something's wrong. You know what I mean? So I took that as a blessing because, as I mentioned before, I'm an engineer, but I'm doing a financial, internship that has nothing to do with my field. But I learned so much at that time. You know what I mean? It literally changed my life and how I see money. So
Makes sense. For me, accounting being my major, I got into it kind of my sophomore year professor. I knew I wanted to do business, but I didn't know what concentration. And one of my professors was everyone's always going to need an accountant, and it's always going to be a career that's in demand. So I was okay, that just makes sense. So it was for me, from an academic standpoint, it was okay, finances, money, it just makes sense. But it wasn't until maybe my senior year in school that I started to understand, to view things differently for okay, this is how you run a business's finances and keep their books, but what about my personal finance? And understanding how money works for me. So since then up until now, I'm still learning, trying to read different books on how to understand credit and debt and what personal finance means to me versus trying to make money and make money work for me versus trying to just make money at a job and keep everyone's books and make sure that they're making money.
So when you guys started growing your financial interest, what resources did you guys use?
I just started. So one thing I used was I started off with my bank. So I have Navy Federal Credit Union, which is a really good bank, and they have a really nice interest rate when it comes to using your money to invest and into mutual funds and things of that nature. So what I did was I changed my checkings and my savings into what they call a money market account.
Okay.
So it's like you have to keep a certain amount of money in your account, like yearly. And what they do is they take that like a little percentage, and they put it into like the stock market or whatever they use, and you get like a dividend, like at the end of the month. You know, so at first when I started, I was like, I don't see nothing. You know what I mean? Then like later on, I was okay. Maybe I should start adding some money towards my savings account, because my direct deposit was only going towards my checkings. You know, you spend what's in your checkings.
Exactly.
So I was like, you know what? Okay, if I get one paycheck, I'll just put that whole paycheck into my savings. And then I started seeing it like actually grow. So like at first it was like a couple cents, then it became dollars. You know what I'm saying? Like then it became like 20s. So like okay, that's nice. And then later on, like the beginning of the pandemic, one of my friends came up to me and was like, yo, bro, this is probably the best time for you to invest, not really doing anything, you're working from home. Try Robinhood.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I transferred to Robinhood, which is, an easier, simple way to invest in the stock market. And so far, that's pretty good. Have some ups and downs, but
Yeah.
it's all in the process.
Exactly. For me, like one thing that I used, like you said, was Robinhood. So like around my junior year in school, I got an account, and this was like around the time when I think it was Snapchat was IPOing. And it was like, that was like the big craze. It was like, yeah, get in, cause look at like what happened with Facebook. It came in like the IPO was at this much, and now it's like quadrupled in worth. So it's like you can make your money back after a few years. So it was cool. Like I got into it, and then I invested a little bit of money, saw a little bit of returns and stuff. But it wasn't until like late 2019 that like I started putting more money into Robinhood, and like I listened to the audiobook Rich Dad Poor Dad, and it started talking about like how to really analyze the different companies that you want to invest in. So it really like made me look at it as not like a gamble, or like it's just like, oh, I think or I feel like this is gonna go up. It's like, how do you technically analyze a company, like looking at their income from operations, and looking at trends in the market to see, okay, do you actually think that this is going to make money? And if I invest for like maybe like 5 years or so, like will I actually be able to get returns? So like 2020 was the year for me, like when I actually started putting real like actual money, like taking more than like a portion, like a little bit of my income, like from my job, and like putting actual money into it, and I've actually started seeing returns.
All right. So have you guys read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad?
Yes.
Okay, so for those of you that haven't, it's a book by Robert Kiyosaki, and he explains how a lot of people save money, but there's billions of money being made. But rather than saving, people find assets that bring money to your account. So what do you guys think about that? For those of you that have read the book.
I think it's important. When I read the book, well, I'm actually currently still reading it, I learned that, wow, I always knew that I cannot just work to make a living. That's just, I understood that, man, by the time I come home from working for someone else, I'm exhausted and can't work on anything that I want to do. It's important to start there, because it is what it is. Like, my friend here is a hairstylist. I just learned how to do cornrows like 2 weeks ago. It's cool, because I'm gonna start charging once I get good. But you know what I mean? Like, whatever we have to do. I think some people are born with the entrepreneurial spirit, which is good. Some people have to learn it, which I'm a person that has to learn it. So learning and understanding that, wow, Angelina, like, yes, you're saving, and yes, you're doing all this, but you're doing it based off of working for someone else.
Yeah.
And for how long? I promised myself, man, God, this is the last 9 to 5 that I will be doing. So I actually picked up learning a new language. Perfecting a language that I've been learning, which is French.
Okay.
Because there is other ways that you could be also making money. So reading that book really is teaching me how not to just depend on this income for my savings or for learning. I just learned from you. I'm literally about to go reopen my Navy Federal account because I was in the military, so we automatically got that account. So I'm going to call them again and reopen that. And just really, I think that it's learning how not to depend on the company that you work for to start something. Another great book is The Everything Store by Jeff Bezos. That book is like a go-to business book that he's not even trying to make a business book. It shows the beginning steps on how he had a great corporate America job, like at the top.
He was on Wall Street.
He was Wall Street and took that income, was like, I'm out of here. I need to start something on my own. Move to a state where, you know, it worked business-wise, like get a building and, you know, the taxes were low and all of those things. And he has, Amazon is literally in everything. Like food stamps. You can literally use food stamps on Amazon now. So it's really teaching me how not to depend on a job a 9 to 5 to save or invest or to do those things.
Yeah, I would just follow up on that. I haven't read the book yet, but I wrote it down in my notes. I always say something. I always tell like my friends and stuff. It's important to have like a fluid relationship with money, because if Jeff Bezos stayed in that Wall Street job because he was scared, the money was good. Yeah, he could have stayed there, you know. But if he was so scared that he stayed there, we wouldn't be able to order Amazon at all. Right? We wouldn't know anything. So it's important to know when it's time to go as well. You know, these companies, God forbid you die tomorrow, they're gonna hire somebody next week. And that's literally how it works. So I think it's just important to know your purpose when it comes to money as well. It's not just, oh, I'm making money. Like I tell my friends, I need to start making money in my sleep. That's what I, you know, like I'm a hairstylist and I work in corporate America too, so I'm on my feet sometimes for 8 hours. I'm not doing that for the rest of my life. You know? So I think it's important to know that you can have several revenues of income and just know that I can still be sleeping and making money.
So I have a question for everyone, and I know this is a little away from the moderation, but so I'm looking to start a business actually. And I'm always asking myself, when is a good time to start? I've been doing my research. I have been. I'm not just like, oh, this is the idea, let's just run with it. Like I've really been doing my research and just gaining the knowledge on how to do it. But I'm just at the point where it's like, dang, like when do you know when to start it?
I would just say just start.
Just start?
I think you should start with, like the Bible says, like use what's in your hands, you know? Like I may have not had like $5,000 to start my hair business when I was 14, but I started with what I had in my hand, you know. And family, all these people, they help. Just having people behind you, supporting you, just go. Yeah. You can't wait for anything. Tomorrow's not promised. Yeah. You know, so I just say, go.
You guys want to invest in my business? Okay, I'll share it. So I studied the LSAT. I was always, you know, before getting into law school, I was always like, let's, you know, dress up, and I didn't actually never wore sweatpants ever. Like, just never wore. I'm actually not like a fashionista, even, like, I can dress, you don't get me wrong, but, you know, I'm not like visionary fashion, you know. True. But studying for the LSAT and getting into law school, I realized just the importance of just sweatpants and slacks and all of those things. So, the business that I would like to start is really a clothing line, which is outside of my comfort zone, but it's really geared towards just having that lounge, that chill wear, but having like a quote literally right here. So when you're writing, you look at that Bible scripture and it's like, okay, sis, you can do this, man, you know. But just it's having these motivations, these affirmations on the lounge wear. That really is the area that I want to take it in. But everybody has a business, so it's like I think that's the area where I'm gonna go to. Is really and just have that opportunity to where different things are happening in different nations. So just gearing certain colors, like having a all green for Nigeria, and a portion of those proceeds are gonna go to students in Nigeria, you know, and really just having the goal is to motivate students through the quotes that are going to be on there, and it's not going to be like all over. It'll be like inconspicuous. So you write in a test, you just okay, I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me. Let's keep it going. Is what I want to do.
That's dope. That's nice.
I think that's tough. I'm gonna send you a video after this. But there was a 12-year-old 14-year-old who retired his mom.
Oh, that's dope. Yeah. I think I've seen it on IG. Like,
yes. Earn Your Leisure brought him on. Like, he works with Diddy. He works with, like, all of them. And literally, his thing is, like, Swigo. That's his logo. And I had an idea just for what you just said. Like, because, you know, everyone around the world doesn't all speak English. Yeah. So maybe, like, writing it in a different language on the wrist or something. You know, like, I haven't seen that before. I would pay for that. You know what I mean?
Just edit this little segment.
So I definitely just say just start.
And just for like another good advice that I tell like a lot of people, is that don't be afraid. You know, like when you're afraid, you don't use your money. You know what I mean? And certain times it's like when you're starting a business, you always have that expectation of it has to be successful. It doesn't have to be successful. When you fail, that's when you learn. You know, so that you can look back and be like, okay, so what was the problem? Like, what didn't I do? You know what I mean? Like, I used to fix iPhones. You know, like that was my like quick fix, like my hobby when I was in college. And at that time, the latest iPhone was the 7. You know what I mean? But then the 8 came out, and then people were coming up to me and saying, "Hey, can you fix my 8?" And I'm like, I don't even know how to fix your 8. You know what I mean? But then people would still come up to me saying, "Can you fix my 7 Plus, and then, you know, downwards." But, you know, that was a challenge for me at that time. And I could have said to myself, you know, I'm afraid to fix the 8. I'm not going to fix the 8. Or I can take someone's phone, tell them I don't know how to fix it, but I'll try. And then they'll be like, okay, you know what I mean? So just sometimes you take that leap of faith.
It's like failing forward.
Yeah.
Learn from your mistakes.
Right.
Okay, yeah.
That's good.
Shout out to that person that let you fix it.
Yeah.
I would have said,
That's a leap of faith right there.
no problem. I'll call you back.
So, do any of you guys have any other advice for people that are wanting to start their businesses?
Well, I guess what I learned today, just start. You know, I think I was afraid because it was just an area that like I'm not a fashion like designer or anything. You know, so what I guess I learned today is just start, just do. You know, I've been putting some money aside for this, so it's not like, you know, I'm going to be starting with nothing. So what I've learned today, just from everyone's conversation, is just start somewhere. Start somewhere. Trust God. You know, acknowledge God in everything that you're going to do, and it's learning. And I think it's every area of our lives. Don't think that it's going to be successful the first time around, maybe the second or even the third, but you still have to just push forward. And one thing that I have done my research on is use the now and the future to be successful. So you just learning the trends of what people like. Because nothing is literally, I mean, I remember my mom saying there's nothing new under the sun. Right. But when you look at these things, like these Jordans that are now selling for $170, like the Air Force Ones were like $60 when I was a child. So really just do your research, learning, go for it.
Yep. And that's wonderful advice. So there you guys have it. That was our next episode of Keeping It 100. We were talking about financial literacy. So if you guys have any other tips or any questions, you guys can just comment it below and like and share, and have a great one.